Out of all the 7 Emirates, Dubai is the only Emirate which is being marketed a lot. Like starting one bed of 1 million in 2021, today there is nothing less than 3 million. You will always have 80 to 90% occupancy over there. And secondly, the prices have increased 4 times even before the Wynn Casino is live. Being an Indian, I always say that Dubai is basically Mumbai, sapno ka shahar. Because when I look at today, most of the agents say ki, sir, you buy property today, within 2 years you can flip, which is a myth right now. But when I am entering today in GVC at 1.3 million, I will barely have an option to liquidate my property at 1.5. When you go in depth of what exactly is happening on the ground, you need to understand that the moment they try to make up their mind that let's buy something here, they hear that this project is sold out, and then you have a developer called as Bihar. I love this developer. Today MR stands in the market because they have communities, because within community you give everything to the client. Do you have anything within 2 million in terms of townhouses? You have nothing right now. Do I have a client who wants to pay 5.6 million for a townhouse? I have a client who is asking for a 2 million price for a townhouse. What should I do? Dubai market is not cheap, not very at high price. It's at the median stage.
Welcome to the realest, rawest and the most controversial take on Dubai real estate. Today, you are here because you want some truth, some laughs and some smart advice from the agents who are living it day by day.
Because this is not your typical sales pitch. What we're going to discuss is the controversial part of Dubai real estate market which everyone whispers, but they don't dare to talk about.
So Rohan, tell me, why do people say that Dubai real estate is just a myth?
Myth as in, see, it has both ways to look at it. When you look at today the market, which is the way it is growing and the way it is also getting marketed, you have all the other aspects to look at it, because out of all the 7 Emirates, Dubai is the only Emirate which is being marketed a lot. But when you look at the depth of every market of every Emirate, you have potential to grow. Just in case, Ras Al Khaimah, 3 years back no one looked at it. The moment Ras Al Khaimah's Wynn Casino news came in, people thought it's just a dream, it will never come true. But when you go towards there today, when you go to Al Marjan Island today, and when you look at the development what Ras Al Khaimah has done, and the kind of appreciation people have seen on that particular landscape, like starting one bed of 1 million in 2021, today there is nothing less than 3 million. And you have every single brand on that island. Recently, I heard that BMW Development is also coming up with a project by Lamborghini Group with a collaboration which is right in front of Aston Martin. So the way you see that entire island is also being planned, that each other, especially in terms of automobile industry, Aston Martin and Lamborghini are each other's rivals, and the projects are also in front of each other when you look at the locations. So they have planned it very nicely that any project on that island will never go empty. You will always have 80 to 90% occupancy over there. And secondly, the prices have increased 4 times even before the Wynn Casino is live. So when we look at Dubai today, we need to understand Dubai is the only Emirate which is selling their mainland. You don't have any other Emirate out of every 7 are selling their mainland. All of them are only selling either a part of their mainland which is way far from the city, like Sharjah. When you look at Sharjah today, Aradi is selling Masar as a legacy since last 3 years, and they're selling their plots next to E611. But when you come to the Sharjah, the main heart of the city, you are nothing. Everything is leasehold. When you go to Abu Dhabi, they're only selling islands. They're selling Abu Dhabi's Yas Island, Reem Island, Fahid Island, Sadiyat Island. You go to Ajman, there are very few locations that are nearby to the the commercial zones which are being sold. Not many. And then you Al Quwain selling their senior island, you must have heard about Sobha. So when you look at these Emirates selling their coastal land compared to Dubai, which is selling their mainland, there's a huge traffic. Because being an Indian, I always say that Dubai is basically Mumbai, sapno ka shahar. People come to Dubai to basically fulfill their dreams, and that is why this Dubai government is also planning to make sure they can accommodate all these people together, they grow together, and that is why the market is also growing. So it's not a myth. You just have to look at it in a different perspective, how exactly things are growing, what all locations have already been saturated, and what all locations are coming up in the future, how they are going to have growth in their own format. Because when I look at today, most of the agents say ki, sir, you buy property today, within 2 years you can flip, which is a myth right now. If you look at it this today, flipping a property within 2 years and getting the profit is a myth. Rather, in 2021, that was the case because prices were very low. People started investing, and at that point, people have invested at a very less rate. Just to give an example, consider an area like JVC. No one looked at a JVC 3 years back, but people invested over there. Major influx of developers came, different sort of developer, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 category developers. They starting price point for one bed was 700,000 dirhams for a good tier 1 developer, and for a tier 2, tier 3 they were also selling at 500, 600,000. When we go today in JVC, you have nothing less than 1.2, 1.3 million. So the price have doubled. Now people are flipping and they are getting profits. But when I am entering today in JVC at 1.3 million, I will barely have an option to liquidate my property at 1.5. So that's the situation. So that's why we need to understand what areas have the potential to flip, and are there any areas actually in the market which can actually give you that flip option, and that is where the myth comes.
So Rohan, I see a speculation moving around that there is going to be a huge supply in the next year.
Okay.
As an investor, how will I make up my mind to basically put in my money right now? Because if I see there's a huge supply coming in by the next year, I am maybe speculating a correction in the market.
Okay. See, this is not only which you are thinking, but every buyer in the market today who is looking at Dubai real estate, everyone is speculating about the same thing, that market will correct itself. It's been 4 years since COVID. Market prices have been consistently rising. Every year, Dubai is hitting world record of selling this many inventories. But when you go in depth of what exactly is happening on the ground, you need to understand that primary and secondary, that is off plan and ready market, both are working fine on their own. How do I say it? Basically, when you look at last year's report, which is FY24's report, the off-plan transactions which were recorded were almost 55%. And apart from that, 45% were from ready. That means people were also buying ready and they're also buying off-plan. So there was no such thing that there was no supply last year and only off-plan was getting launched. The only consideration is when off-plan gets launched, every developer tends to market it in a higher way. And we know certain names of developers. When we go on Sheikh Zayed Road, when you take a roundabout, when we go to any location, we know there are certain developers who market their project like anything, and that creates a consciousness in a client's mind that what exactly is happening. One day the flex says some other project, tomorrow the flex changes and some other project comes up. And the moment they try to make up their mind that let's buy something here, they hear that this project is sold out. So we need to understand, in Dubai, not everyone is buying and not everyone is selling. When you look at yourself as an investor, as I told you in my previous question, that when I'm asking myself if I should invest in JVC, I will refrain myself doing so, because in last 3 years, the amount of supply and the launches which both came are at a staggering mode. Next year itself, out of the entire amount of units which are getting handed over, the maximum amount of units are getting handed over in JVC basically. The huge chunk of supply is coming in JVC. And what's the issue which you basically hear from the clients? What sort of issue they say? Traffic. Today, JVC doesn't have that infrastructure to withhold the capacity of people who are gonna move in the future, and also the people who are there today. So if in case, in the worst or best case scenario, if the correction happens, JVC will have that a bit hit, because they already have an issue which they have not solved it yet. And plus more people, more units we are going to hand it over, and more people are going to move in over there today. So increasing population and having the issue still not resolved, there will be a consideration that prices will go down in JVC. But when you look at a location like, let's suppose, the Dubai Production City. Now, when you look at Dubai Production City, the number of apartments over there are very less. Like, you don't have many developments there. And I am amazed to see that many big developers have not even looked at that area. Even when I say to my clients, any of my investors, when they say, ki, Rohan, I have a budget of $1 million dirhams to invest in Dubai, where should I invest? And when I tell them, sir, I have a very good project, buy a semi-government developer, that too in Production City, let's have a look at it. Their first question is that, what is Production City? Is it even in Dubai? And that question also amazes me with the fact that if the buyer doesn't know about the location, how is he gonna be assured of one fact, that he's making the right investment? So in that case, I'll just give you a brief what Production City is basically and why I was more aligned, because when I looked at the master plan of Production City, it's basically Production City and IMPZ. That means Production City, which has production housing companies, Xerox's main offices over there, Mercedes-Benz training center is basically there. You have many printing presses over there. So basically that city was made by T-Com Group. And similar to that, they have 4 more cities. They have Dubai Internet City, Dubai Media City, they have Dubai Studio City, Dubai Sports City. All these cities were commercially made for commercial uses only. But now these cities are coming up with residential launches. You must be seeing launched by a Sobha developer, which they came up in Motor City.
Correct.
You have launches by several, like not I would say tier 1, but tier 2, tier 3 get developers. They're coming up in Studio City with their launches where 1 bedrooms are 1.2, 1.3 million. Sports City, Danube is more active over there. But when you look at Production City has one production area and the other is International Media Production Zone, where now the launches are coming in. What sort of supply they already had? They had JGE1, Jumeirah Golf Estate 1. When anyone today looks at Dubai, JGE1 is one locality which has the honest investor approach. People who have invested in JGE1 in 2008, they are still invested over there. They don't want to leave that place. That is the only community which has 2 golf courses. That is the only community which every year hosts DP World Championship for golf, and you know the prize money for that is $10 million, and it happens every year. And what is the supply for that particular community? You have only 1100 villas. So huge chunk of land with only 1100 units. And now JGE2 is recently launched by Vassal Group itself. There also you're gonna have one more golf course, again with Equestrian Club. You will have Equestrian Trail, which is going all throughout the community. And the best part is you're gonna have basically their Etihad rail station. Now, all the people who are currently investing in Dubai today and all the brokers, they're also mentioning this thing that not only the airport but Etihad Rail will also be a major boost for the real estate industry. That because of Etihad Rail, your prices will grow, and that is a basic fact. India is based on railway.
Correct.
Heart of Indian real estate is railway. So if that thing is coming up for the first time in UAE, and that too from your land parcel, if it is that only 5 to 7 minutes away, it will have an impact for you. So Etihad Rail, Metro, you have 2 golf courses, a community via legendary group Vassal, that is JGE1, JGE2, and then you have a developer called as Bihar. I love this developer. It's a boutique developer. They don't come up with many big launches and they don't market themselves as well. But whenever they come up with something very crazy. And most probably they come up with something which investor and end user both will prefer. When I look at their floor plans, if I myself would like to invest, I would always consider that because those floor plans are very family centric. There are studios basically. Normally when we look at studios in Dubai today, their sizes are 320, 340 square feet. Their studios are 430 square feet, a huge size. And there is a typical layout in studio which I personally like, because in that you have a separate laundry room and you have a separate closet which can be closed. So if with me I'm staying with my wife, and if I'm not able to afford a 1-bed rental, I can comfortably stay in that studio because my wife will also have a private space where she can change, she can have her own things, and then I have a kitchen, washroom. The other plan remains the same, but those 2 additional things, a utility area where you can place your laundry and a walk-in closet which can be closed, gives me more space, gives me more comfort, and in my budget range. So I have a clientele for that. When I look at a 2 beds plus maids option, normally all the 2 bed plus maids options comes that you enter into the apartment and on the left hand side you have the kitchen, or the right hand side is the kitchen. In these layouts, when you enter, you have a lobby which is leading towards first bedroom, second bedroom, and when you're entering towards the tea section, then you have the kitchen and living room. So it's a massive space in between, and you don't feel like you're entering in your house and someone is just invading your privacy. So that is what I like about that particular development. Plus, as I mentioned it to you, you have the Etihad Rail, you have JGE1, JGE2, you already have an established base of commercial spaces over there from where the people working there will occupy your spaces, and the price point, $1 million. A 1 bed at 1 million dirham, where you don't have such similar community nearby, no such similar community. Most of the developers are only building standalone towers. And investing in standalone and investing in community makes a lot of effort difference. As you yourself know, MR only builds communities.
Correct.
Today, MR stands in the market because they have communities, because within community you give everything to the client. You give all the sort of hospitality things, be it school, be it hospital, be it clinics, be it mall, be the infrastructure of the road networks, everything is there. And that is why MR always has that premium charge. They are also giving the same. They have already, basically, when no one was looking at Production City, they started from scratch, built DR Midtown. Today, 1 bedroom rental in DR Midtown is 75,000 dirhams, which is not even the average rental of JVC, which has 1 bed starting at 1.3 million. And I'm giving you 1 bed at 1 million within a community with a 45-55 payment plan, that tomorrow if you want to rent it out, you can rent it out to a good individual. Tomorrow if you want to stay yourself, you can comfortably stay because the layout is good. And if you want to sell, you're today sitting on 300,000 profit because the neighboring areas are giving a price point of 1.3 million. So this is where the gaps comes in. We need to understand, we need to be very cautious while choosing an area.
So you say location is the first primary aspect which you should narrow down. What could be the other factors which can actually become a smart investor's next step in terms of narrowing down the right investment opportunity? First being the location, as you rightly explained.
Location, low plans. See, a building which is having 400 units, we need to understand the proportion of the units. I won't name the developer, but there is a project in Production City itself which has 1800 apartments, out of which 1547 apartments are studios and 200 apartments are 1 bed. Imagine tomorrow on your same floor, you will have 70 other people who are also renting their studios, who are also selling their studios. And see, the buyer never has a patience. The buyer, the person, the owner never has the patience to actually wait. If you are an owner, you put your inquiry like listing for 40,000 rental for your studio, and for 1 month you don't have anyone. When I look at it, when I see that 40,000 is not being rented, let's have the listing at 38,000 dirhams. I put at 35,000 dirhams. Then my other neighbor, he thinks his listing is not going onboarded. let me put it at 35,000 dirhams. So on an average, the listing comes down to 30,000 dirhams. So once the 30,000 dirhams gets a landmark, it becomes a trademark in that market. Every other has to follow the same thing. So imagine the person who was gonna rent for 40,000 and he has to rent for 30,000 dirhams because there is supply. There is no exclusiveness. Now secondary, after the floor plan, what comes to me more specifically is
kind of units. So maybe a townhouse or maybe studios or maybe apartments or condos. How does
there
that
is a small debate which can happen. See, most of the buyers we have today in the market are basically come into the affordable category.
Correct.
You must be interacting with
What
many
can be the
such
ratio?
clients. Like
if according to you,
70% people coming into the affordable category asking for 1 bedroom or a studio or something which is 1 million, and because of this golden visa people are asking for 2 million. But you tell me very frankly, do you have anything within 2 million in terms of townhouses? You have nothing right now. There's nothing. The cheapest townhouse right now in off plan which I can give you is Dammam Island. And personally, if you'll ask me, if I look at the floor plan, if I would not like to stay in that townhouse, I would not buy it. Because that floor plan doesn't make any sense for me. Looking at the sizes, looking at the proposition. When I look at the same 4-bed townhouse of MR or maybe Arada Vasar or maybe by Vassal Group, I see that I can stay there. But the price point over there rises towards 5.6 million. Not even double, more than double. So if you want luxury, you need to pay for it. But do I have a client who wants to pay 5.6 million for a townhouse? I have a client who's asking for a 2 million price for a townhouse. What should I do? So that's the agenda. See, when I look at today for the affordable market, the only best possible option is apartments, and even in that category there are very few options with very few locations which you right now you can enter. If you want to extend your budget to 5 million, even then you have very less options. It's not like if your budget is 5 million you have like many such options, just you can go and invest. There are very few because now market has started moving towards a stage where this market has established itself. Dubai market is not cheap, not very at high price, it's at the median stage. So we need to be very cautious at what stage and what price we are entering at, and are we entering with the right developer? Because please try to understand, Dubai is being constructed for the first time. It's not a market which is here since generations. Like Indian market, it's like generational old market.
Correct.
New York market, generational old market. Whatever is currently selling in UK is basically a secondary property from the owner's end. Whatever is selling through in Singapore, it's basically 62 years old legacy of all those properties, the developers. What we are selling today in Dubai, it started selling since the year of 2002. The freehold culture in the year of 2000-2005, in between that only. And actually the market started gaining the strength since 2022. So is the market very new? Yes, it's new. It's very old? It is not very old. So we need to understand whatever coming in the market coming for the first time. So it's being tested. As in Dammam only builds communities are based on water. But when they will get delivered, will they have the same absorption from the secondary market? The people who like to stay nearby to that area will have to look at that. So Dammam Lagoons, the way Dammam Lagoons will perform in secondary market will justify whether Dammam Riverside, Dammam Islands, how they will perform after the handover in the future. Because Golf Course was admired by people. That's why MR only focus on Golf Course. But when we look at MR today as well, MR also came up with Lagoon theme, Oasis. Whatever is building nearby to Oasis is gem. You have Tilal Agaf, you have Jumeirah Golf Street Phase 2, you have Grand Polo, you have this side Dammam Lagoons, then you have Reem Ram at the bottom, then you have Heights, then you have Riverside. So whatever nearby to it will have its own charm because of MR Oasis. So we need to understand what location, what floor plan, what proportion of units, what is my entry point, and what brand my investment is represented to. If I am going with any random brand, just because they are giving me discount, just because they are giving me delayed payment plans, just because I'm getting a comfort that I can choose my unit, then you are fooling yourself.
Understood.
This investment will never make you any sort of profits in the future. Sorry to say that. No one can say that tomorrow I will be having the same job, because tomorrow there will be another person who is coming to Dubai as well. 100% of the units are going in the market as a secondary. At the time of handover itself, you will have nothing as an appreciation after that.
Buy it from a broker. Don't buy it from a developer. I asked him why.
When I look at the number of people coming in Dubai today, not to buy properties but rather to sell properties. But I only work for very few projects which can actually make money for my clients. And as I told you, very few, because there are very few only.